an incredible amount of NBA games today. 10 on the DraftKings slate, 12 in total. And I am a solo dad this weekend. Wife's out of town on a bachelorette cruise across Mexico. So it is a tough scene here. Been up since 5:45 a.m., guys. We're going to do the best we can here, digging in with projections, ownership. Of course, comparing my projections, some of the industry leaders out there at Stokastic. We're also going to hop to the world of Unabated. Oh, good. My phone is talking too. We're going to hop to the world of Unabated, see what their market-based projections think today, not the usual conditional NBA projections. Could be a different ball game today. Of course, going to see some sim DFS lineups. And by the end of this video, you'll hopefully know the must-plays for today's massive slate, January 27. Let's get into it, guys. So a lot of things here today. First of all, again, been up all day, so that's been tough. Not feel good. I'm a late night person in general. I'm usually up to 1, sometimes 2 in the morning, just kind of doing stuff, either playing video games, doing work, whatever the case may be. And Luca wakes up early, and I am not good at this, guys. So I'm a good dad. I'm not good at waking up early and being competent at being a good dad and then doing stuff I have to do. So that's on me. Double whammy, though, is that Stokastic did not update their projections since this morning. As a result, we have a bunch of guys that are out now that I have to kind of move minutes around. So I did do that as well. We're going to do the best we can, though, today, as always. Yes, as I'm just talking about here. So wife's out of town. I have to go pick up the kid from daycare. I have to do the deeper dive for Stokastic at 5 p.m. So that is why we're going earlier today. But also, you're not entitled to my time, Mullen Labe. So it is what it is. But yes, normally 4 p.m. here, going 3 p.m. today. Just the vibes, Mullen. You sometimes, man, really just give off the worst vibes of anybody in chat. Nikola Jokic, 65.7 fantasy points, 67 fantasy points for Stokastic. He'll be owned 38% by the people today, is what the thoughts are here based on Stokastic's ownership projections. I got him in 34% of my lineups. So no big stand in favor of Jokic, nothing against him. 12K salary. There's enough value on the slate, particularly the Dallas game. We're going to find a lot there. Maybe a little less than some of the Stokastic data has right now because they, for some reason, have PJ Washington now, and he's not that I'm aware of. But either way, there's a lot going on here for the slate. It's going to give you some value opportunities, and that's Nikola Jokic, going to make it a lot easier to pay for at a 12K salary. A match for Jokic today as well. Got 128.8 implied points facing a Chicago team that, of course, DFS players love to target every single slate they can. So Nikola Jokic, good spot here, good matchup. Certainly should be able to abuse Nikola Vucevic as much as possible. And Chicago, for what they're worth, they have enough talent to keep up on their side. So better shot of Jokic getting 4 quarters of play. We got Giannis here. He's on the FanDuel slate / Underdog slate. Good projection on him. That said, he's not in the DK slate, so let's save some time not to talk too much about him. On the other channels, though, or the other sites, rather, he's going to be your pivot points of Jokic if you want to play him. I do like Karl-Anthony Towns quite a bit today. I'm in 54 fantasy points, 54.4. According to Stokastic's 51.3. Fields going to be at 11% ownership. I got him at 29% in my top 150 lineups, the semi-round before the show. Feeling good about Towns in the spot for him. The Knicks total is at 122.5. They are facing Memphis, who we have seen Zach Edey sometimes give people trouble. I don't know how he'd give trouble against Towns. His ability to kind of stretch it out. Edey cannot get out to the three-point line fast enough to do anything against Towns. When Towns goes inside, probably be a little bit tougher. But for Karl-Anthony Towns, I think he's in a strong spot here for that basketball, a little bit of game theory there, how he should match up with Edey. He's 9,800. Anytime he's under 10K, I'm willing to play him. He looks pretty good to me at a really low owned. I think 11% owned for him is more than fair on a slate where you have Jokic being so chalky. Anthony Davis, another pivot point as well if you're not going to play Jokic. 53.3 is my projection for him. 51.9 is what Stokastic has. They have not adjusted, though, for Rui Hachimura being out, Gabe Vincent being out. Overall, Anthony Davis looks like a better play as a result from those guys not being in. Minutes actually getting a little bit tight for the Lakers. Couldn't figure out what else they're going to do. The power forward minutes are going to probably give Dorian Finney-Smith today, if I had to guess, like 30. I think Vanderbilt could probably get to 15 a day after playing about 13 the other day. But I would say for Anthony Davis, probably a little bit of a fringe benefit for him as well. The downside for him is that's the first game on the slate. So if you do play Anthony Davis in a match against Charlotte, you are giving up that flexibility early on. But still a good play overall. Obviously, a match against Charlotte where not a good defense at all. Team with a similar pace to them as well. So for AD, I think a good play, but probably not a great play compared to some of the other guys. Edie's little scuffle with Eubanks the other day gave me some respect for the guy. Sure. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. We got to talk to them later in the week. But I'm just wearing the shirt because we are at the end of the shirt cycle. So different shirts come up a little bit more. And I wore a regular black shirt yesterday, so I'm wearing a spicy black shirt with the Underdog logo on. We got Kyrie Irving here. So Stokastic has Kyrie at 41 minutes, and he has played 40 good amount lately, I believe, even including in the last game they had. So Dallas, just real fast to kind of go through here because Dallas is a mess today. They got a lot of guys out, even more than usual. The same Luka Doncic out. That's the big one. You're adding Kleber out as well. You're adding, Powell's not in the rotation anyway, but he's out. But Kyrie, this last spot, played 41 minutes. Also missed a minute here for the game being out of hand against Boston. Granted, a spot versus Washington, not exactly the same versus spot versus Boston, where you kind of need all your guys to go a little bit harder and go a little bit more, in terms of the minute load. So I'm not sure that we get Kyrie getting quite this high here at 41.3 minutes, but they're down a lot of bodies. Certainly some ways to go around there where Kyrie can hit this mark, but it feels like an aggressive minutes projection for Stokastic. The projection itself all seems pretty aggressive at 52.5. As a result, the field's going to be owning him for Stokastic data at 52%. I got him in 41% in my sim. I have no issue with Kyrie Irving at a 48 projection for me at an $8,900 salary as well, but I think it's a little bit lofty, and I would also say that in general for Kyrie Irving in the spot, it's kind of the assumption here. He's playing Washington. He has to go off. Kyrie is going to go off more, at least in my opinion, in spots where it's like a competitive game, kind of like we saw, versus Minnesota. Same thing you saw versus Boston here, where he's playing 40 minutes. He's kind of doing the whole thing. In games where he can, lay back a little bit, let the other team do the work, let the other players do the work. I think he's going to allow that to happen more. So I'm not really sold on Kyrie Super Chalk. I'm sure I'll get him a good amount with 48 fantasy points at 8,900, but I don't think he's like a must play quite as much. He's on the thumbnail, so he's like a key part of what we're doing today. But I don't know if he's as much of a smash play as like the ownership's going to get to, especially PJ Washington is in. Like Stokastic was accounting for Kyrie with Washington out. I did account for Washington being in, gave him mid 30s minutes. He probably can get to 40 again as he did last time out versus Boston. I am not sure that he's as good of a play as he looks like in the Stokastic data right now. So Kyrie, certainly a good play. If the game's competitive, he's going to play 40 minutes. But I tend to think he's going to lay up a little bit more here. Let your Grimeses do a little bit more work. I mean, who else could really absorb usage? Certainly PJ Washington, if he's playing, can soak up a lot of usage, do a lot. I honestly have no clue why Washington is not, unless somebody in the chat may know, why would Stokastic not have Washington in the player pool? PJ Washington, that is. Because it doesn't make sense why, I haven't seen any news, not in the injury report, so I don't get why he wouldn't be. But I assume it's going to move the slate around a little bit with their data, and I would guess you get Kyrie coming down a little bit. They do account for the fact that it seems like PJ Washington's playing, unless there's something I'm just missing entirely looking at the injury report. Domantas Sabonis, not a lot of exposure for me, not a lot of exposure for the field, 1% for the field. I got none. Cade Cunningham, same thing here, a little bit overpriced for both guys. Sabonis at 10K, Cade Cunningham at 10.5. Certainly tournament options, them being this low owned, but Cade Cunningham at a 4.5x value. Sabonis at a 4.8x. When I have legit good center plays here, I'd rather go to Towns, who projects really well for me. Certainly rather go to Jokic. I'm going to do that more, and I think for Jokic too, competitive spot, good total as well. I don't think it's a day to fade, a guy like Jokic or even Towns. Fade either of those guys for Sabonis. If you're worried about the Edey matchup, maybe you fade Towns more than I am. The field's not playing him quite as much. But Jokic over Sabonis is just even with the 2K difference, I'd rather have that. I mean, for me, 10 times out of 10, but, it was just tournament game theory, probably 8, 9 times out of 10. Jason Tatum, 6% for the field. I got 3. Mark Williams, big stand for me in favor of, again, I have about 4 fantasy points higher than Stokastic does. Mark Williams is facing Anthony Davis, so a little bit of a risk there. I think that Mark Williams is going to be able to do a little bit more against Anthony Davis. We have seen the downside of Mark Williams more lately. The price tag's come up as well. He's now 8,200. But I was willing to take shots on him, and I think his energy and activity really, and also the fact that we're in a spot now where you do have mostly healthy Hornets team, where you have the guys who can throw him lobs, like your LaMelo, like your Bridges. You're not in the same spot as it was last week when Mark Williams is the only Hornets player that was kind of left and available. He couldn't do as much there. He tried his hardest, but the ball just didn't flow his way at all. Guys couldn't get him the ball in those kind of lob positions, the rim run positions that he's normally good at. Versus the Lakers with AD, I just don't think AD is going to defend the rim that well. He doesn't want to play center. They're pretty clear about that. They want him to acquire a 5. They want the Lakers to acquire a 5 so he doesn't have to do that anymore because he thinks, oh, I won the championship when I was playing the 4. He should be playing the 5 more. He doesn't want to, though. For a guy like Williams, I think he takes advantage of that. So I'm willing to be here more. Field's not playing Williams, 6%. I got him at 18, so not the craziest stand. The 3x to field on Mark Williams to me. Again, if I'm not getting Jokic, not getting Towns, I do like Mark Williams a good amount. And Gafford as well, we're going to talk about in a moment. Gafford, 57% for the field, 76% for me. He's really the one where PJ Washington being in hurts the outlook a little bit. I shaved 2 minutes off of Gafford to account for that because, again, Stokastic doesn't have PJ Washington for reasons unclear right now. For Gafford, I would say that without having Maxi Kleber in, without having Dwight Powell in, there's just not a center to go to who's going to move away from him. They could play a little more Markieff Morris. I'm sure they will. You can play a little more PJ Washington at the 5, which you certainly could do versus Washington in general. But Gafford, he's not heading into Washington, so it's not a true revenge spot. Former Washington Wizards player. The center matchups he's going against with J Val and Sarr, he should be able to abuse both guys, muscle them around a little bit. I didn't juke rates at all today because I didn't have the time, and also I just want to see how my data does with some changes I've been making on the back end. Talked about it in the other Splash Play channel, but building some tools using Replit, which is an AI coding tool. I'm trying to kind of play with my NBA exposures a little bit more and use the sim as one part of the process and then take stuff and kind of manipulate the data after that. So playing with that a little bit. For a guy like Gafford, to me, I think no matter what I do to kind of massage the data, I'm going to get a lot of. I think he looks great. I think he's one of the chalk plays of the slate that I would have a hard time avoiding. Some of the regular optimal lineups I ran before the show, the solver was getting about 100% of them too. So I think Gafford's one of the splash plays of the day. Spoiler alert for the end of the video. I think you want to get him a good amount today. Let's sort by value. You're going to see some similar players here, in particular the aforementioned Daniel Gafford, but we'll see what we get. And again, I do have to point out the stochastic projection is going to be a little bit off because they've only run the one run of projections. I'm not sure if they're like trying to save money or what. I don't know what the deal is. I don't want to speculate. So they're a great partner for me too, but they're basically not updating the projections as much as they used to. Where it used to be anytime there's kind of an injury update throughout the day, somebody would be updating then. They're now kind of doing it at different touch points. So I'm not really sure what that is. Mavs low-key in desperation mode, need wins to stay relevant in the West. Sure, but against Washington, it's not really the one where you have to roll out the red carpet unless somebody goes nuts on Washington. But they're not going to be owned like that very much. We'll see in a moment here when we go game by game, but I'll get more Jordan Poole today. I'll get more Alex Sarr. Dallas is still a 12.5 point favorite at home today. Even with them being down a few guys, I really don't know that this is a spot for me where Kyrie Irving is like, I have to go nuts here. Certainly can, but I think he just lets the wing guys do a little bit more, be certainly my guess. Daniel Gafford, one of the guys I hope does more to knock that Kyrie projection down. Talked about him a lot here. Not really any big man they have to go to here. Still need rim defense out there. Still need somebody who can do things that the Gafford does. So at 6,700 projected play, Stokastic had him at 32 minutes. And I knocked him down to 30 because I think he might lose a few at the 5 to PJ Washington. I think Gafford's a smash play here. So I like him a lot today at 6,700. He's one of my core plays. Dorian Finney-Smith. So he's not a lot in the pool for Stokastic at 3,500 because they had him projected much lower. Again, they haven't updated for Rui Hachimura being out as well as Gabe Vincent. I think the net result of that is that Dorian Finney-Smith, those two guys being out, I have to assume Finney-Smith probably plays 30. He's been banged up, so I guess there's a chance he can't play 30 health-wise, but I assume he can. He doesn't play that well on the year. Finney-Smith is averaging 0.7 fantasy points per minute, counting from the match today versus Charlotte, low pace spot. I had him at 0.67 fantasy points per minute. If he does play 30 minutes at 3,500, he's not a bad play. So I don't think he's going to come up a ton, in an optimizer, but I think he's probably a play that you get as a value that looks good in the beginning of the day, and then probably some better value opens up as the day goes on. Garrison Matthews, less minutes expected for him, but still a pretty decent run out in terms of minutes. 23 minutes, 3.7% ownership overall. I got him in 10% of my lineups. For Garrison Matthews, the big thing is Atlanta. No Trae Young, no Jalen Johnson today. So kind of becomes Lord of the Flies mode. You get Keaton Wallace defending his G League return, I guess, one more time, where I don't think he's played for the Hawks at all since that last big game he had when Trae Young was out. Now you get a spot here where these guys probably going to try to put up some production. The bad news for them is that they're playing Minnesota at Minnesota. So they're about a 10.5 point dog. I think, 10.5 point dog. With the spot for Atlanta overall, not a good enough matchup, but when you lose high usage guys, like Trae Young, like Jalen Johnson, things do look very important for those guys to, fill in a little bit. The issue, though, is the matchup. I'm not crazy about Garrison Matthews. I'd take the shot at Keaton Wallace more, but I think in a perfect world for Atlanta, what you're trying to do is kind of level out all those guys for Atlanta, because somebody got an outlier day. It could be DeAndre Hunter. It could be Okongwu. It could be Dyson Daniels at a really steep price tag. I don't know if you want to die on that hill. Nobody's going to be playing Dyson Daniels, it looks like. Less than 1% ownership going his way. Somebody from the Hawks should probably do well here, but the matchup is really bad. It's a down pay spot for Atlanta, really low total, and Minnesota's just actually like a good team that should make it hard for those guys to get off the wing. How much Veet? Not as much. He's 5K now. Yeah, I got him in 6% of my laps. Compared to the field's 1.5. Not a big stand there. These guys, this is part of what I've been trying to figure out, because I would like to create a tool that for me does this with my lineups a little bit better. Trying to get like guys like Vic Krejci, Keaton Wallace, Garrison Matthews, Bogdan Bogdanovic, if he were to play today, give those guys like kind of similar ownership because like they're really the same play to me. None of them project terribly well for the Hawks today. Highest projected guy I have would be a Kongu at 32. I have Dyson Daniels at 31, not that far off. But like nobody projects so much better than the others that you want to be playing one that much more. And in reality, one guy getting hot, hitting a few more shots, like that's the guy that could become the best play. So I think you really would want to get like Krejci leveled out with Garrison Matthews and Keaton Wallace to some extent. But the projections kind of are where they are, and you get more Keaton Wallace as a result. Let's see. Yes, Jaden Shippers. Yes, Jaden was so close to advancing in the big board, or not the big board, excuse me. Big board's on the mind. Did do some big board drafts for the weekend, even though I haven't done one on stream yet. Did have one that was, I think, we ended up 2 points out, advancing in the mitten 2. And it sucks. The team that advanced is also not going to have enough for a finals team. I would have had enough for a finals team, losing Jaden. But really, that game was such a bummer because obviously 3 lost fumbles in a game. I'll save it for the NFL channel more. It wasn't on Jaden. Like that's what me out the most. Like Jaden played a clean game. I think he could have won that game. But they lost by 30 because they fumbled and turned the ball over so much. And also at one point too, when they were already down and it was like, you could tell the way the momentum was going, 3rd and 20 on their side of the field, they then throw a screen. It's like, you can't do that. You can't do that against a team that's so much better than you and your defense is shit. But I don't think they knew that their defense was shit. Ty Jerome, I'll cape for a little bit here. Excuse me while I cough for a second. Now, the phlegm buildup of getting more exposure to your Jeremy child, always good. So for Ty Jerome, the big thing is no Karis LeVert again. Ty Jerome has had, since I've touted him on stream, some outlier days, days where I haven't been on stream. He's had some dog shit days lately, so that's a bit of a tough push-pull for Ty Jerome. Main thing for him is that he's 4,200 to me, facing Cleveland as well. Ty Jerome producing 1.11 fantasy points per minute with no Dean Wade, with no Karis LeVert. There's just more minutes to go around for a guy like Ty Jerome, more opportunity as well. So for Ty Jerome, I'll be above the field again, 8% for the field. I got 23%. I think he's a really good play today. And I would say for me, relative to like guys like Garrison Matthews, even Keaton Wallace, I'd rather take a shot at Ty Jerome, I think, with less minutes overall. Even though there's more theoretical opportunity for the Atlanta guys, like I like Ty Jerome a good amount. So I would say I like him more than the ownership they're giving is a better way to put that. For Wallace, it's going to be 43% owned, but like Ty Jerome's single digits. Like he and Garrison Matthews going to be owned a similar amount. I think Ty Jerome's a much better play, even though both guys, coming off the bench, kind of similar theoretical opportunities. Like Ty Jerome legit does stuff. Garrison Matthews a lot of time either hits 8 threes or he's missing nothing. He doesn't add rebounds, doesn't add assists, does nothing else out there. D'Angelo Russell, this is a tough one for me. Basically, D'Angelo Russell on the Nets, when you have Cam Thomas off the court, you have Ben Simmons off the court. He's about a 1.5 fantasy point per minute player. The minutes are weird, though. So Stokastic today has him for 25 minutes. In reality, the other day, he was going to play about 28 minutes based on his first half of run. But Brooklyn was getting their ass kicked, so that was it. He left the game. Russell is really good right now. Russell is playing probably some of the best basketball he has in his life. You might have seen the clip going viral over the weekend. The Nets owner, I guess the Nets owner's wife, the Psy lady, whatever, doing the ice in the veins, pointing to the forearm thing that D'Angelo Russell does. Like, teams got good vibes. They like Russell. They like giving him minutes. The issue is, like, the minutes aren't the most secure. Again, over the weekend, we can pull up popcorn machine here for this one because sometimes more illustrative than me talking about it. So they played Miami over the weekend. You can see here, D'Angelo Russell, weird minute stints, plays 6 minutes, then plays a 4-minute stint, comes out. Bit of a personal foul in there, but I don't think he picked up, second foul. So maybe that's part of why he left. Then closed out the second quarter, which is usually his stints. He plays like a good run in the first quarter, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. Comes in for the second quarter, plays a short stint, break, short stint to close the second quarter. Third quarter, he played a 7-minute stint, got in briefly at the end of the third quarter, then left again. I don't know what the deal is with that. Then came in for the fourth, and then the game was out of hand. They're getting blown out, so they just pulled him. One of the younger guys here. One was Jalen Wilson, Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin, Ebwaman, whose name I always forget, even though played too much of him last week. So they played like a shittier, younger group here. You could make the case a tank group, but they were down enough points that it doesn't really matter. Russell can theoretically play another, let's say, 6 minutes here. Like, he gets a 32. If he gets a 32 at 1.5 fantasy points a minute, he actually is a good play. But the issue is the Nets are either, again, they're down 18 at this point. They're either tanking pretty aggressively or they're just kind of calling off the players a little bit earlier than they should, which does go hand in hand with tanking. I'm not sure what the deal is, but point is for Russell, like in the spot for Brooklyn where, they are, well, let me pull up the number here. They are pretty big dogs. They are 12.5-point dogs. Sacramento, though, is just defensively weak enough. The total overall, like Sacramento's implied for 119.3 implied points versus a really low-paced Brooklyn team. You get a shot that Brooklyn is competitive in the fourth quarter here and that Russell sees the full run. If he sees the full run versus Sacramento, I think he has a good shot of making a tournament-winning lineup and having that upside. So I'll play Russell more than the field. 1% for the field. I got him at 14. I like Russell a good amount. I just don't think the minutes are really going to account for where he is. And the projections won't either because like he's been a different player for Brooklyn. He's got a 50% assist rate, almost 30% usage when Cam Thomas and when Simmons aren't out there. And they're not out there today. Like both guys are out. So I think you take a shot at Russell again at 6,400. And I think there's a chance he gives you 40. And I think an outside chance he gives you 50. He's been really good. So I like Russell. Like I know people like shit at him for the, I'm finally playing free basketball thing. But it's like he's playing free basketball and it shows like he's enjoying it. He's also absolutely a 10 commander kind of guy, but whatever. He's almost winning games for him. Almost, which is really where you want to be. Grady Dick, 27% sim ownership for me. My top 150 compared to the field's 19. So getting more dick than you guys. So, rub it in your face is how much dick I'm getting. I should go back to the screen. But that's it for me with Grady Dick. Always a play. I'm getting some at 4,200. Looks better to me with quickly being out. As always, just more opportunity to go on, more usage and all that. So Grady Dick on the wing at 4,200. There's probably better value that opens up, you would think, with some of the Q tags we have left. But for Grady Dick, I think he's a good play as always if he's going to be getting 28 minutes or so. Nick Richards is not on the main slate, so it doesn't really matter too much, but he looks as an okay value theoretically. Dillingham playing more minutes lately. Had like a little, 10-5-5 game the other day. Minutes coming up from a little bit in this kind of spot versus an Atlanta team that's pretty overmatched. Maybe you get a shot that Dillingham racks up a few more minutes or is just more productive. 24% usage for him on the year, 29% assist rate. Dillingham, I think, is a guy to watch out for. I like his numbers coming out of Kentucky, and they haven't played him very much, but I think he can be a good fantasy asset at some point. That's how it looks right now, value-wise. We'll do a quick scan game by game or scan game by game. We'll run through unabated. We'll do the market-based projections today because the unabated official NBA conditional projections don't come out till 4:30. If you're just tuning in right now, if you missed it, today I'm on solo dad duty. Been on solo dad duty since Thursday. I had some help from my mother-in-law yesterday, which is great when I did the Sunday stream on the Splash Play NFL channel. But I'm in some sort of hell right now. That's sort of what it is. Basically, I have to go pick up the kid early during the 4 o'clock hour. Have to sit him out there, put cars on. I'll be in here for the deeper dive at 5 p.m. for Stokastic. So I had to basically move things around here to make money today. So that's the way it goes. When you're a freelancer like I am, working for yourself, it's all hunting and gathering. So I got to make sure I don't miss any hours. So that's why we're doing the show today at 3 p.m. But unabated, of course, you want their full, the full juju projections they give you. You got to get them for yourself today. Promo code SPLASH unabated, $30 off at unabated.com/NBA. All right, Lakers we talked about here. No big ownership. Getting LeBron a little bit more than the field. AD a little bit more. It is a good match for these guys. Projections could move around a little bit on Stokastic side because they didn't account for Rui Hachimura being out as well as Gabe Vincent being out before the show. Those guys would come up a little bit more. AD and LeBron maybe come up a little bit more as well. Not a great total for the Lakers because of the down pace spot versus Charlotte, but Charlotte's still a shitty team, so certainly could put up some points here. And AD in particular, going against Mark Williams, maybe it brings something out of him. LeBron, though, going against the wing guys, I mean, he should really abuse those dudes as much as he wants. But a lot of minutes to go around here. I gave Arnold Traore, I don't know how to say the dude's name. Gave this guy a few minutes, gave Shake Milton a few minutes, gave Koloko a few minutes. There's a lot of minutes to go around now because of the fact that you are missing Rui. He's playing normally, high 20s minutes or low 30s. Gabe Vincent's playing high teens minutes, sometimes into the 20s. They got more guys out than it seems. But still enough for a rotation to fill it out. But who's going to play? I really don't know because there aren't actually a lot of games where both Gabe Vincent and Rui have both been out. Charlotte 108 implied points on their side. LaMelo Ball, nobody's going to be on him. He really hasn't been great overall with Bridges and kind of taking over a lot of usage with Brandon Miller being out for the year. Mark Williams still my only stand here, 18%, 3x the field. I think he's going to play at 8,200. He's burned people a little bit lately. That makes him look even better to me. Still averaging 1.42 fantasy points a minute here. And I do think AD is not going to like a match with Mark Williams. He's going to make it tough on him, I'm sure. But Mark Williams, like all hustle, all run, all size, all bully ball. That's the kind of guy that AD doesn't like playing at the 5. So I think for Mark Williams, to me, getting a little bit more of a shot there. Williams 9,100 on FanDuel. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, look, 8,200 on DraftKings is tough enough. But if I'm at 45.5, I can get there. Yeah, FanDuel, I mean, he'd get a little bit more points for the stock stuff on FanDuel, but you're probably not playing him nearly as much as I would on DraftKings. Like even that, like 18% is not as much as we were getting when Mark Williams was in the 5K, 6K. I was touting Mark Williams here on stream every day. Josh Okogie getting more minutes because of Cody Martin being out. You need a few more guys that feels like to be out for Josh Okogie to hit his full minutes upside. Like Bridges would have to be out as well. But that said, for Okogie here, 11% ownership. He's been playing well on the year, 0.94 fantasy points per minute. Frankly, very active out there in a way a lot of Hornets guys aren't, so don't mind him. Nick Smith, you don't expect a big day anymore because of LaMelo being back in, Bridges being back in, but he's still out here as a starter. 4,500, though he's priced up for the one good game he had. Those guys were out. Charlotte, not a priority team by any stretch. Detroit, not a lot for me to love here. I've got nobody above 10%. I'm low on Duren, but he looks okay as a 5x plus value to me. Beasley, 5x plus as well. Going against Cleveland, tough spot here, 11-point dogs. Don't love the matchup overall for Cade either. But having Mobley back in makes the defense a little bit tougher. Having LeVert out makes the offense like a little bit weaker for Cleveland. The fantasy production at the very least. So not a lot for Detroit. Cleveland side looks better to me. Garland, 22% ownership compared to Fields, 10. Low on Donovan Mitchell, but the Field's not playing him anyway. Same thing for Mobley. Jared Allen, same thing there. Max Strus, the Field's going to play him at 11%. I adjust the weight this season's rates a little bit more. Max Strus hasn't been that good on the year, averaging 0.77 fantasy points per minute. So I won't be chasing Max Strus quite as much, but he's semi-chalky. Ty Jerome, I love. Ty Jerome, I've had some really great DFS days thanks to this year. He's put up 20 points in a quarter before. He's always worth a shot to me at 8% owned. I'm not going to have him in every lineup, but 8% for that. Tobias Harris, if he's out, yes. If Tobias Harris is out, he'll open up some more opportunity for Ausar Thompson. And maybe for Fontecchio a little bit more as well. But yeah, I don't know that it really would change the play too much. Thompson at 4,800, give him a few more minutes. He'll get closer to playable, but I don't think he'd be like a lock play by any stretch. But Tobias himself, certainly not a great play either. So some impact there, but not the hugest. And you'll know that one early on in the slate, if nothing else. The slate today is weird too, I think. Let me check the timing. Was it 1 7 o'clock game? It's 2 7 o'clock games, Lakers and Charlotte, Detroit, Cleveland. So you will know the Tobias Harris status before. Then there's 5 7:30 games, 2 8 o'clock games, and then 1 8:30 game to close out the DraftKings slate. The 2 FanDuel / Underdog exclusive games start at 9 o'clock. So your swappability is going to be really important at 7:30. So I would say try to be careful of, like, even if you open Tobias Harris getting out and then you have Ausar Thompson, you probably don't want to lose too much value flexibility in case somebody gets ruled out weird. Like it happens every night in NBA, especially in this many games. Like there's a higher likelihood of it happening. Houston, not a lot for me here. Amin Thompson keeps spiking these random high upside days. It's hard to predict him. He's averaging 1.02 fantasy points a minute, accounting for the matchup with Boston. I don't see it being that good. That said, there's a lot of usage on Boston's side. Certainly for a wing defender like Amin Thompson, he could get some stocks against these guys who aren't turnover prone, are mostly a good team, but you're getting a lot more time with those guys having the ball, and Amin Thompson could be guarding your Jaylen Browns, your Tatums to some amount. So for Amin Thompson, I could see taking shots here, even though the projection looks awful. But 1.5% ownership, it's not a lot there. You really have to kind of be willing to lose the money. You're going to play Amin Thompson based on that projection. Cam Whitmore looks okay at 3,800, getting about 20 minutes a game. Get a good producer at 1.04 fantasy points a minute. Kind of your new Tari Eason in terms of the guy who's been heating up, having some decent tournament days off the bench. But both guys pull from each other enough where I don't really feel like I should have this much more Cam Whitmore than Tari Eason, but he's cheaper and shooting guard, small forward. So Cam Whitmore, decent play, but is a bench play and not guaranteed to close or anything like that. Boston on their side, not a lot of ownership for me besides getting 8% Jaylen Brown. That's obviously not a lot either. You got 5%-ish for Brown, 6% for Tatum. Not a lot to love on Boston side based on the ownership. Again, not a tough matchup. The total's not bad, I guess. It is a tough matchup on paper. But 114 for Boston, a little bit lower than they probably get versus shitty team. But still a decent enough total here. Competitive game. Maybe you get lucky with Tatum having an outlier day, Brown having an outlier day. Because really don't expect Boston to run away with this one like they sometimes do. New Orleans, 118 implied points. I've got nothing here, so I'm going to save time not doing a whole lot there. We got Toronto, 115.5 implied points. Thank you for posting it twice. It was such a good chat. You had to get it out there. But yes, trying to make time here on a 12-game slate, so we're going to do the best we can. Toronto, 115.5. The good news is because I started an hour earlier, you have an extra hour to listen, rewind, do whatever you got to do. Getting a lot of Grady Dick, as I mentioned, a little bit of RJ Barrett. These guys on paper, it should be better plays, Barnes in particular. I think this one here, 5% ownership for the field, 1% for me. It is a soft matchup going against the Pelicans. Barnes, I haven't had projected that well this year, which is kind of crazy to me. Usually guys like Barnes are the ones that I would have a little bit higher, with them being generally, a guy who contributes in rebounds, assists, points. Those kind of cross-category category guys for me tend to be a little bit better projected, especially when their teammates is out quickly. But Barnes, not getting him a lot. I think he's a nice tournament play potentially. Barrett, I'm getting him more. He does make lineups work pretty well at 7,700. He's had pretty similar usage to Barnes all year long. He's much cheaper. So Barrett, I think, looks okay. Grady Dick, again, value there at 4,200. He plays enough minutes with quickly being out. Getting a little bit of Davion Mitchell too, which despite the bits that we do in the deeper dive, I don't get very often. He's normally only a play for me if you have everybody in Toronto out. But he's playing enough minutes with 28.9 minutes projected, so that's that. The Pirtle Olynyk news, future Boucher. Yes, you get those guys were out. Certainly would help Boucher out, but you still have Orlando Robinson here who could get some center minutes. So it's not really like a lock play for Boucher on any stretch. His minutes remain like an enigma. Some days he hits more. Some days he puts up a lot of points in very few minutes. Boucher is one of those guys where I would need to know he's a starter to feel really confident about him, even if he were being projected to play a good amount of minutes. Memphis, 119 implied points. New York, 122.5. Not on the Memphis side, so I'll skip over them. Certainly, if you want to grab a tournament option, you can. But unless anybody's out here, I don't think these guys are great plays with their salaries. New York at their side, talked about Towns at the beginning of the video. Looks really good for me, getting over 2x the field on him. Getting a matchup versus Edey, I think he should be able to dominate if things align correctly. Josh Hart, a little bit more than the field on him. It's 7,800. Him being under 8K doesn't happen that often, but projections down a little bit under that 5x value, or if he were 8K, so he's fairly projected overall. Getting him in 12% of my lineups compared to the field's 9. Low on Jalen Brunson, high on Towns. I'm always going to be low on Brunson if that's the case. Anunoby, not a lot of ownership there, but I'm with the field on it. Orlando, and if you're tuning in for the unabated projections, stay tuned, guys. We're going to hit the market-based projections for unabated day coming up in a little bit. Orlando, I got nothing here. If guys get ruled out, it'll look better. But Suggs, if he's in, going to be playing not as full allotment of minutes. Cole Anthony, overpriced now for Suggs being back in. Banchero, Wagner, a little bit overpriced for time without each other. I guess in particular, Banchero without Wagner. Wagner's minutes still coming up. I don't think you want to play Orlando in a low total, low pace spot versus Miami. Miami, Kel'el Ware still playable enough. He's outplaying Bam Adebayo lately. 5,900 is the salary, 33 minutes or so is the projection. I got him in 15% of my lineups. Nothing else here looks good. Jimmy Butler at less minutes with the weirdness around Miami. You don't want to get there, but Butler being in also hurts Hero, hurts Adebayo. Kel'el Ware is pretty much the only one who's appropriately priced that he's played on the year. Sacramento, 119.3 implied points. Malik Monk coming up a little bit here with the minutes projection we have at 34.2. Usually I think Stokastic has like the minutes a little bit weird for Sacramento because I get Monk every time in the morning. Then he goes away when the update later on. But I'm getting him in about a quarter of my lineups right now, so I'll highlight him. DeRozan about 10% ownership. Murray about 10%. I'm with those. That's that. Bam has power forward also. There you go. So a little more flexibility to Bam, but he's been awful this year, so I don't really want to get there very much. Oh, we talked about the D'Angelo Russell thing up top. He's been a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy this year on the Nets when Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons aren't there. The matchup, not one of my favorite ones in the world, but certainly not a bad one versus Sacramento. I would say middle of the pack team now in terms of the efficiency allowed. Decent pace overall, pace up spot for Brooklyn. So I like taking shots at Russell at 6,400. As I mentioned earlier in the video, we looked through Popcorn Machine. He could probably play about 28 minutes in a game. I think that works for Russell if he gets there. You obviously need Brooklyn to be competitive against Sacramento. Sacramento's had some good days lately. Maybe they blow Brooklyn out here, but the total's in range enough. I will take shots at Russell. He's going to be 1% owned because I think he can put up an outlier day. They somehow hang in for 4 quarters. Very little Sabonis and Fox would expect more versus Nets. Nets are a low-paced team, doesn't give up a lot of stats, so that's really the main thing here. And the total for Sacramento is pretty good, as I mentioned, but it's not good enough to kind of make up for that. And Fox is a 5x value, but he's not like a smash value. There are better kind of value metric plays in the slate. Denver, 128.8 implied points. A really high total for Denver here. Chicago, 119.3 on their side. Not a lot of Murray for me, 1%. As we talked about this entire year, he's been not very good on the year, averaging a little bit under 1 fantasy point per minute for most of the season. Now he's back over 1, so at least you're getting that, but it's not really the guy, like you're not getting what the contract is for Jamal Murray. You're not getting what the historical results are for Jamal Murray at this point. He does spike those random outlier days against Chicago. You certainly could see him do that again here. But I would say at this point, Nikola Jokic is really the nugget I want the most. Jamal Murray, I would say less so. Think Russell ends up being over 10%? I don't think so. Less like NBA usually doesn't have it like NFL does, where people are kind of ignoring projections of playing a guy. If Stokastic is going to give him 25 minutes and not boost that up, even if they give him 28, like the big thing is that most sites out there aren't giving him the rates he's had for the Nets because it is a small sample size thing. It's not, the sample size is probably about half of where you want to be in terms of the amount of possessions and all that. A little bit more than that, I think. It's like 300 or so, and you want 550. But I think for Russell, the issue is that people don't project him that well. Like you'd see that I have him, at least based on the first round of projections for Stokastic. I'm about 9 points higher. So like, if you use the Lakers rates, you're not going to get Russell at all. If you use his Nets rates without Cam Thomas and Simmons, you're going to get Russell. But people aren't going to do that because like that's not how most of the industry works. So that's that. There's a pivot off of Gafford. There really isn't one. In terms of his salary and projection, nobody is really that close. Your pivot would be playing another center who's a higher dollar guy, a lower dollar guy, trying to get value, but there is one. Play Jokic, then you're going to score more than Gafford then. But otherwise, Gafford's a really good play. But the fact there really aren't any big men left, and it's kind of a matchup where you want a big man for most of that game. What else here? Porter Jr. getting 2x the field. Nate loves Porter Jr. I've been getting him lineups lately too. I think the price tag is nice for him with the scoring upside being there potentially. Certainly with how bad Murray has played, Porter probably projects a little bit better for me than he should because Murray's been not that good this year and Porter's been basically himself. But Porter at 12% for me is a stand. Gordon, I'm getting 3x the field. 4,200 is a little bit too cheap. He also would theoretically, if he played more minutes, siphon a little bit away from Westbrook. I'd watch out for Gordon doing that some point soon, but they haven't really raised his minutes that much up lately. But I have him at 0.98 fantasy points a minute today. So as a value, played 4,200. You can take the shot. Maybe I get lucky. He somehow starts. I don't think it's going to happen. Chicago, 119.3 implied points. Patrick Williams, 17% ownership for my top 150. Fields at 15. He's too cheap at 3,800 for a guy playing 25 minutes. Besides that, though, a little bit more Levine, a little bit less Vucevic. No Kobe White, so that does help things out a little bit here, but really nobody gains when Giddey, Desudmu, Lonzo, obviously Levine and Vucevic, they're all healthy. So like they all just kind of soak up that production that White leaves behind. Nobody looks that much better. Sort of the way I'd feel about it. But if you're going to play somebody, I think it's Patrick Williams for the value. Lonzo, I don't mind. Levine, I don't mind. Vucevic, if I got more of, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I have center plays I'd prioritize more, like Towns, like Gafford, like Jokic. Oh my God, there's too many fucking games. Atlanta, the only guy I'm really getting here is Keaton Wallace. DeAndre Hunter about half the field on as well. Atlanta, certainly the starting stuff is something you're going to want to know here. The Atlanta game today tips off at 8 o'clock. So you're going to miss all those 7:30 games. If you didn't get, let's say Keaton Wallace starting, I assume he will. But if he didn't start, it's going to really upset how people's lineups look heading into those last few games. So something to keep in mind here with the ownership being where it is. I'm flat with the field on Wallace, a little bit under it, a little bit above on Nance, a little bit above on Matthews. Surprised I'm this low on Okongwu, but the price tags come up. The minutes insecure with Capella back in, so that's basically it. Tough match versus Minnesota as well. Minnesota getting Jaden McDaniels, as always, on the wing. I don't know why. Don't get him enough on days where he puts up 40 fantasy points, but every other day, I'm there in Jaden McDaniels. He looks okay here. I think he and Grimes potentially could project well, or similarly, depending on what the Mavs lineup is today. But Jaden McDaniels, I think, is an okay play here. Good value. Price tag at 5,300 is coming up for me. And a lot of pace, too, should lead to more stocks for him, you would think, but you never know game to game. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, a little bit more than the field here. Rob Dillingham, John the Garden seems like a smash. Why? The salary is really high for a guy that doesn't play high 30s minutes. He hits because he does really well with fantasy points per minute, but this is a projection game. If you want to play your instinct stuff, you certainly can, but the projection is not there at all. We can just real fast for the sake of Smitch here. Smitch. Yeah, projected to play 28.8 minutes at 9,100. He's been a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy. I have him as a 4x value. He can hit as a tournament option if you really want to try that, but 4x value in 2025 DFS is you're praying for something that's not really there. Washington on their side, 109.5 implied points versus Dallas here. Dallas, not a bad total for Dallas. Weird total for Washington. It's not great, but getting a lot of Jordan Poole. I don't really know why. Getting a lot of Alex Sarr. I don't really know why. I'm above the field on both guys. Neither of them are really that good to me normally. Keyshawn George, 11% under the field on him, but still another value at 3,700. Obviously, I'm happy to get Wizards because I'm going to have a lot of Mavs on the other side. But I don't know why these guys are coming up at all for me, honestly. They look okay. None of that good. He's not on the slate that I'm playing today, but he is. No. Why would you play Eubanks? Kessler's in. You play Eubanks when Kessler's not in. And Collins too, ideally, but they're both in. So I don't think that would be it. Eubanks doesn't stink. He's just not a starter. Anyway. Besides that, and honestly, the FanDuel game, sorry, I just don't have a lot of takes on him. It's too big of a DraftKings slate for me to care that much. For Dallas, a lot of Gafford, good amount. Oh, Kessler is out? Okay, he's not on the projection set. That's my bad. Again, I don't really care about the slate. Like, that's not on DraftKings. I'm not paying attention to it. I'm sorry. I should have said that, but I also don't really care. Anyway, for Dallas, 122 implied points here. Gafford is at Filipowski started center last game. There you go. That's a matchup thing, though. Anyway, Eubanks, you want to play him. I don't have the projections updated for it, so I can't really tell you. But versus Milwaukee, it's not on paper a great spot. And it's a FanDuel only play, so sorry. 76% for Gafford, 41% for Kyrie, under 10% for the other guys here. Really not a lot of ownership besides kind of Kyrie and Gafford here. So you're not really getting great leverage theoretically going to these guys. Quentin Grimes, again, PJ Washington is out in Stokastic projections. I don't know why. If they know something that I don't as of 8 o'clock in the morning and it wasn't just a fuck up, if Washington were out, this team would look a lot better. As it is, they look pretty good for the key guys. Gafford, again, there's no other bigs for Dallas at this point. They could play Markieff Morris, but like he is dust of all dust. If you put Morris against Valanciunas is probably going to put up like 20 fantasy points in that run against him. It's not something you want to do for very long in a game. So I think Gafford is a safe play unless he gets in foul trouble. But really, revenge spot, Gafford going against weak centers. I like Gafford a lot here, and I don't think I'm going to move away from him too much. Again, starter is going to be important here. Washington, knowing what the fuck Stokastic did there, going to be important, but that's that. And FanDuel, again, I didn't pay any attention to it all today because it's just not relevant to what I'm gambling on. So that's that. Unabated, let's go. Of course, I'll do some FanDuel prep before the deeper dive because I have to talk about it there, but sorry for you guys who are FanDuel people. I've been pretty clear about it. Like, I don't gamble on FanDuel. It doesn't really matter that much to me. Trying to be real about it here. That's the deal. All right, let's see Unabated's market-based projections today. We are so behind schedule because the slate's enormous. Put this one fast, but watch this video that I'm not going to talk over today because I got to set this shit up. All right, I got it set up. We're not doing conditional projections today. We're doing market-based projections. It's a little bit different. Basically, what Unabated does before their regular conditional projections that are made by their team come out, they do a different version of it, which are using market data to find new EV. That's what we're going to see today. And the graphs are still going to look good. Whether they're creating projections or you're using market-based data, Unabated is going to look good for you. So it was faster to set it up than I thought it was. That's why I can talk now. But we got it, guys. We got, of course, lots of Unabated. Great sponsor for me. They put up with me even on the days where I really don't want to do a show. That's that. If I don't wake up for fucking 8 o'clock or so, I can't exist, man. 5:45 in the morning, or a kid who's sad about his mommy. We're having a day, guys. We push through, though. Let's simulate this out here. We'll see our best EV for points, as always, here. And again, this is market-based data. So the good news with market-based data is you need a lower EV than you would for simulation-based data, where you want to have that be about 8%, at the very least 5%. For market-based data, you're talking like 3% is enough. Depending on how much is out there, 2% is enough. I'll still show you the best lines here, but a little bit of a lower ask here in terms of the expected value you're going to get. But also a little bit less expected value overall. And especially with all the Q-tag guys we have. As you can see, the conditional projections currently have 11 guys as questionable. Here they all are. Doing a little parade for you. There's too many fucking Q-tag guys for a slate this size. And too many FanDuel games as well. Rudy Gobert, 6.7% EV for over 9.5 points. Minus 135 odds on DK Sportsbook will get you that. You don't want it on your pick'em sites, though, but Gobert over 9.5 points on DK. Let's get to bet on. Austin Reeves over 18.5 points, 5% EV, let's say rounded up there, 4.9%. Minus 104 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. So for Austin Reeves right now, getting the benefit, as we talked about, you got no Rui Hachimura, no Gabe Vincent. That does open up some minutes for Austin Reeves. It was already projected for almost 35 minutes by Stokastic. Now I would think you're probably looking at more than that. Vika Zubac over 14.5 points, 4.8% EV on that, at plus 100 odds on DK Sportsbook. Good to go on PrizePicks as well, 4.1% EV. Because we are doing market-based EV, again, it's a little bit of a lower EV threshold in the sim EV, where you want to have it be about 8% or more, at least 5%. Here for the market-based EV, we're talking 3% or more. So these bets all looking good. Eve Missy over 7.5 points, minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook gets you 4.4% EV on DK Sportsbook, that is. For Eve Missy over 7.5 points. And Rui Hachimura is not playing, so I don't know why this one is in. But the markets haven't updated enough, I suppose. Rebounds. Let's do that next. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Again, I fully admit, and it's one of the perks of the channel, I guess, at least people appreciate the NFL side of things, is that I do keep it fairly real here. I'm not throwing a fucking 99 on the black right now. I got to prep more for this slate. I got to get my kid. It's a fucking nightmare. I've been up too early. But I appreciate you guys showing up here. And as is always my promise, I'm going to show up and do the work Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. in this case, every day. The video will be available for 4 p.m. though. So technically, I did live up to my promise. But I'm here every day looking at my projections, comparing to Stokastic, hoping that everybody else updates their projections in time so that I can give you guys nuanced, well thought out takes. But some days I am getting it. I'm getting the old double dong dildo today of like them not updating the projections and me having to fucking do all this shit. So bear with me today. But of course, I appreciate you guys being here. If you got value of the video, despite that, well, you should be here every day because there's days where I absolutely crush it. Today's not one of them. If I don't know that there's guys out, then yeah, that's it. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate getting secondary confirmation for me because I'm not an unbiased source. Rudy Gobert over 10.5 rebounds, minus 106 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook gets a 10.9% EV. That's looking like your best bet right now. Playable on PrizePicks as well, over 10.5 point rebounds on there, on the usual PrizePicks line. You can also play it on DK. We got 4.7% EV, but you definitely want the FanDuel line if you get it. Obviously, the most EV here at minus 106 odds. DK at minus 120. You're getting about 14% of the value of that bet being taken away. Franz's props seem low. Is he projected to be limited? I mean, he's not all the way there minutes-wise yet, so that's why. And thank you for that. I appreciate that, Tango. Of course, I appreciate all you guys being here. Again, look, all we can do is show up and do the stuff as best we can every day, and true of everything in life. Showing up is half the battle. The best ability is availability, all that stuff, all the cliches we could throw out. Trey Murphy, under 5.5 rebounds. Good to go on PrizePicks with 10% EV on there. You don't want it on DK or FanDuel, though, so Trey Murphy only on PrizePicks, under 5.5 rebounds for him. CJ McCollum, under 3.5 rebounds, gets you 6.8% EV, also on PrizePicks. Looks like it's not good to go on Underdog or the sports books. Underdog killing these lines fast. Got to give them credit for that, even though it's not good for us as customers. Really, they hit those lines fast. Anthony Edwards, under 6.5 rebounds, minus 125 odds on DK Sportsbook, gets you 6.5% EV for Anthony Edwards in a spot versus Atlanta where I don't love an under for rebounds versus a dog shit team is missing all their stars, but for Ant, he's not a big rebounder, so that is what it is. Max Christie, under 3.5 rebounds for him. He's going to play a lot of minutes, but he's not a big rebounder. 4.8% EV for him, under 3.5 rebounds. Alperen Şengün, under 9.5 rebounds, gets you 3.5% EV. That one's on FanDuel Sportsbook. Actually, no, that's the one's on DK Sportsbook. It just moved as I was talking. Dyson Daniels, 3.2% EV at plus 124 odds, over 5.5 rebounds on DK Sportsbook. And those are your best rebound bets right now. Of course, DFS Sim coming up in a moment as well. Let's see what the rest of these market-based projections have, which are completely different from the conditional NBA projections at Unabated, which will be coming out at 4:30 today, as usual, as they always do. Whew. We're looking to use that Friday 3-game NBA slate today. I think that would have been helpful for me, helpful for you guys. We got 9% EV for Eve Missy under 1.5 assists. That one is another PrizePicks exclusive, not available anywhere else for Eve Missy under 1.5 rebounds for that 9.0% EV. We got Quentin Grimes over 2.5 assists, 5.9% EV for him. Minus 125 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Can't bet anywhere else for Quentin Grimes over 2.5 assists. Trey Murphy over 3.5 assists, plus 145, gets you 5.2% EV. You can't play it anywhere else, but actually Trey Murphy EV on both sides. The over EV, 5.2%, 5.5% EV on the under on PrizePicks. So you can have it both ways. Have it your way with Trey Murphy. Fade him, go with him. They both are plus EV bets technically. Bogdan Bogdanović, no Trae Young, no Jalen Johnson, more opportunity theoretically for Bogdan. Over 2.5 assists for him, 4.8% EV on PrizePicks, not on your regular sports books. Klay Thompson under 2.5 assists, 4.2% EV for minus 115 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. And Jaylen Brown on PrizePicks, 3% EV, just enough to go under 4.5 assists for him on PrizePicks today. And last but not least, our sweet PRAs, and we'll hit a DFS sim. I'll go get my child. I'll go plug him in front of a TV, and I'll be back for Stokastic at 5 p.m. on the deeper dive. So strap in. The joys of parenting. The joys of negligent parenting. I'm also like, I really hope he is a good boy and doesn't fucking do anything stupid down here. Like while I'm streaming. I'm also hoping he doesn't run into the studio unless it's like cute and at the end of the video, then he can do it. It's gonna be a really stressful 5 o'clock stream for me on Stokastic if you want to see me at my peak. Jokic or Towns? Jokic is the higher projected one. I'll be playing them both a lot. Towns I like more than the field. Jokic I'm flat with the field. So relative to ownership, I'd take a shot at Towns, but Jokic is the better projected play. We got Rudy Gobert, 8.8% EV, over 22.5 PRA is good to go on DK Sportsbook for minus 120 odds. Looks like you don't want anywhere else, but DraftKings, 8.8% EV, pretty good EV for market-based projection. Jaden McDaniels, under 21 PRAs, 4.8% EV. That one's going to go on PrizePicks, but not in your regular sportsbooks. Alperen Sengun, under 34 PRAs, going to go on PrizePicks, 3.7% EV. Jordan Poole, over 28.5 PRAs, 2.9% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook, not anywhere else. Kristaps Porzingis, a rounded up 3% as well, under 28.5 PRAs. Going to go for the lower version of that on Underdog. And then PrizePicks as well, under 28.5 PRAs. You probably don't want it on DraftKings. You want like a 3% or higher EV. 2% you could do if you're desperate, but like I know from probably, of course, my former sports betting app, you want to have like at least 2% to have the things really matter. But 3% is where you get safer, where you actually see a real jump in terms of your ROI. So I would assume the same principle here for the market-based projections on Unabated. Check them out yourself. Even when there aren't traditional NBA projections out, the market-based ones are honestly really good to hop on midnight before the unabated projections. Like they come out at 4:30 p.m. every day. Those are the most EV you'll get. But the market-based ones, if you do them at nighttime, you do them early in the morning, you hit them when injuries happen, you will find EV really fast. So check it out for yourself in Unabated. Another great part of the product here that I don't get to show you guys every day. What's the bonuses PRA? I don't know. Not plus EV. 41.5, and he's got minus EV on both according to Unabated's market data. So that's that. Stokastic Sim. Let's see. Have they updated things? Let's pray. If not, this is what it is. Just got to use the tool. All right. They updated at 3 o'clock. So maybe we'll be good for the 4 p.m. stream tomorrow. But we're going to run a sim here to see what we get. Going to build 5,000 lineups, have them compete 10,000 times. And of course, check out Unabated, the presenting sponsor of this show, unabated.com/NBA, promo code SPLASH. And of course, Stokastic, the tools you're going to see on screen right now are 15% off. It's the best deal they have, even though they have some other deals they promote, the various Millie Maker winners and all that. This one is in perpetuity for every month, every week, whatever you do for the packages. So check them out. For NBA, check out the NBA Max package, get some sim stuff in your life. That's what I'd recommend, but go ahead and click the link in the description. You can see a menu of all the stuff, and they're all 15% off. Golf stuff, college basketball, whatever they have. Odd Shopper, it's all 15% off with that promo code SPLASH down below. Oh, boy. And guys, please hit the like button, subscribe. Really, these days, I'm just the saddest clown. Really more the sleepiest clown. I'm not sad. Honestly, been a lovely weekend hanging out with my child, like, which it sounds stupid to say out loud, but like, parents know. It's like it's a fucking pull. It's like having a literal job, especially the kid doesn't nap. It's a job without a lunch break, really, where you don't really get that downtime. But, you know, it's been a long fucking weekend, man. So your support goes a long way today as I push through as best I can. Let's simulate these lineups here with Stokastic, 35% first. If you're not playing on DraftKings tonight, it's a good night to do it. It's the $5 tournament, a $5 entry fee, $100K to first place. With Luka being in the mix today, I'll probably put in a respectable 30 entries in that tournament. For you guys out there, it's the cheapest shot you have in 100K in the industry. Is unfortunately how that goes. Or fortunately, I don't know. You send me a pizza. You'd Venmo me at Chris Spags money for a pizza. But no, it's all good. I don't know. I'll probably get some Chick-fil-A later is what I'll do when Luka goes to bed. I'll have to cook for him while doing NBA lineups. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Bonk, bonk, bonk. No, being a dad's great. Definitely don't pull out. It's a really good idea. It is fucked up though. Like the kid's really cute. You do get a little Stockholm syndrome thing at some point where it's like, oh, I wish I could text him, see how he's doing at school today. Kid was fucking sad last night and this morning about not having his mom, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I didn't even tell Alex. I'm like, I'll save her. I'll save her the feeling bad. But like when she's back, I'm gonna make her feel bad about it. That's what I'm gonna do. Now that some Benadryl can't solve, yeah, we'll see. Alex is coming back with some fun Mexico drugs. We're gonna have some Xannies and some Addies in the house. We'll see how fast I can talk. I'll take some Addies and then do some streams, see what we can do. Can you imagine? That'd be all yacked up. All right, top lineups right now, and this is all Stokastic data, not mine. So keep that in mind here. One of us did not miss her. One of us, I missed her a lot too. So it's all for different reasons. I think I missed the sharing of labor. We got Ty Jerome, your number one ROI lineup. So Stokastic, team Ty Jerome as well. We got Ty Jerome, Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, Gregory Jackson. GG Jackson is really the name, but in all the sheets out there, he's Gregory. Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Keegan Murray, Rudy Gobert. GG Jackson, I don't get why he'd be coming up. I'm sure he's cheap. He's been playing some minutes, but he played last game. Played 23 minutes last game. He did close. The game got kind of out of hand, favoring the Grizzlies there. All right. I guess I get GT Jackson being there. That's I wouldn't take that shot that much, though. I mean, look, it's going to be sad when the kid's out of the house. I get that. But yes, that's classic old ball stuff here. Pal Steve. I was just up till 1 a.m. because I usually don't go to sleep early, and Luca woke up at 5:45. So usually Alex is the morning shift because I'm a late night person, but that was not the case. She's not here. Ty Jerome, Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes, Alex Sarr, Kello Ware, Jordan Poole, RJ Barrett, and Yeko Kongu. So kind of odd. You're getting the Mavs bringbacks without Mavs involved, but Ty Jerome and all these lineups. So Ty Jerome, Stokastic is right there. I don't know about that. He does have a weird face, but I think that's it. He's not really autistic. I think people just say that online. Unless you guys know something I don't. Ty Jerome at number 3 again. Ty Jerome, Jamal Murray, and also I would have no thoughts about it. More power to him. He's channeled into more athleticism than I have. So fuck, I wish I were that autistic. I wish Ty Jerome, Jamal Murray, Jason Tatum, Keegan Murray, Jakob Poeltl, Russell Westbrook, Alex Sarr, Rudy Gobert. Number 4, you have Ty Jerome, Jamal Murray again. This is more Jamal Murray than I would have thought. RJ Barrett, Alex Sarr, Rudy Gobert, Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Onyeka Okongwu rounds up the number 4 lineup. Number 5, Ty Jerome. So fuck me and Stokastic gonna be shaking hands today on Ty Jerome. I love the guy in a lot of slates. Case again today for me. Ty Jerome, Grady Dick, Dalton Connect, Zion Williamson. Zion, the minutes aren't high enough, I would think, but okay. Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Olivier Maxence Prosper, and Domantas Sabonis, your number 5 ROI lineup. Not Jokic up top. We'll see what the exposures are. Top player ROIs right now. Your only positive ROI is Olivier Maxence Prosper, Max here, who is an active guy out there, but doesn't get enough usage, 3,100. It always feels like a good deal when he's playing and projected to play minutes, and then he does fucking nothing out there, and it doesn't feel that good. But that's how I feel about Olivier Maxence Prosper. I got Rudy Gobert, -1%. Jalen Duren, -3% ROI, but still technically, again, for the sim, you're looking for directional accuracy of your ROIs. So these are the highest ROI guys. Jalen Duren and Gobert, technically number 2 and 3. Alex Sarr, -4%. RJ Barrett, -4. Anthony Davis, -4. Matas Buzelis to the Bulls. Reports came out today. He's the only guy they won't be willing to trade, which good, I guess. Buzelis is going to be a stat stuffer if they trade Levine and Vucevic and Kobe White. They trade everybody. Buzelis is going to look good. But -5% ROI for Jordan Poole. These are your top ROI guys technically. Highest exposed guys. Thank you for that. Look, I beat myself up because I want to be great every day, but some days just can't be. And not, not that I'm always great anyway, but try to be the best you can every day. When you don't have your fastball, you're throwing just fucking spits and hanging curveballs. You got to know it. We got Russell Westbrook, 44% exposure compared to the field's 31, so pretty big leverage there. Alex Sarr, 41% compared to 18, a big pro Sarr stand. Look, I get Alex Sarr sometimes. I had more Alex Sarr in the field in my exposures. I'm not surprised by it. I never love getting Alex Sarr. Even the other slate, there's one lineup I had last week, I think it was. It was whenever Wizards Lakers was. And I had one lineup where I was like, this one has a shot. So I pivoted from something to Koulibaly over Alex Sarr, even though Alex Sarr projected better. Because I was like, Koulibaly at least has points upside. He ended up scoring 10 more points in the slate than Sarr. That's how I feel about Sarr in most slates, where I just don't know what the true upside is. But with Gafford being fairly highly owned, I guess you get some theoretical leverage by going to Sarr. So that's that. We got Jamal Murray, 37% compared to 32. We got RJ Barrett, 36% compared to 14. Grady Dick, 30% compared to 16. Daniel Gafford, 29% compared to 28. So basically flat on Gafford. So they're not as big on Gafford as I am. I wonder if they move the minutes around a little bit there. Ty Jerome, 2x the field on Ty Jerome, basically, and more than 2x the field on Anthony Davis. I don't know. The starting What are we doing? What are we doing, Go? You are something else. You're something else. You bring to be clear, I'll be playing Grady Dick. So are you being insulting to me? Grady Dick's a good play. He's 4,200. He's 4,200 playing almost 30 minutes a game. Well, quickly he's not in there. There's no reason to say he's a dog shit play. If he hits 5 threes, it's been a good day. He's not a bad play. It's so stupid to say shit like that. It's really, whether he hits or not is inconsequential to the fact it's a stupid thing to say on a slate where there isn't great value. Yeah, the guy playing 4,200 and playing probably about 30 minutes is going to be a decent enough play. And if he gets hot, it's going to look good. And if he doesn't get hot, it's going to look bad. That's how that goes. He's suspending Butler indefinitely. Oh, there you go. So that's Hero looking better. Time change today because I have to go be a dad and get my kid before the deeper dive. There you go. Took down the dollar contest on the night slate the other day with Sarr and Kuzma. All right, so Sarr did something for somebody. Wizard stack. Brave by you. Anyway, your top leverage players, Alex Sarr. He's your highest leverage player according to Stokastic's top 150 lineups, so keep that in mind. RJ Barrett, 22% compared to 36. Jalen Duren, 16% leverage there compared to the Fields 9% exposure. Grady Dick, 15%. So, oh my God, the idiots at Stokastic, these fucking morons who've won millions of dollars and created some of the best working DFS products that have also won other people millions of dollars. These are words. These, I don't say that word anymore, guys. But these buffoons at Stokastic, how can they give you 2x the exposure on Grady Dick? This guy in chat knows so much more. Fucking not the day to be an idiot. Chat, you don't want to be snarked. Fucking anyway, Stokastic, 2x exposure on Grady Dick. So who are we listening to? We got Anthony Davis, 26% exposure compared to 12%. 14% leverage for him, one of your highest leverage plays. We got Jordan Poole, 13% leverage for him, positive leverage that is. Russell Westbrook, 13% leverage rounded up. Ty Jerome, 12% leverage. Your negative leverage guys got negative 13% on Nikola Jokic, negative 9% on Zach LaVine, negative 8% on Patrick Williams, negative 8 on Larry Nance, negative 8 on Nickeil Alexander-Walker, negative 6 on DeMar DeRozan, negative 6 on Jaden McDaniels, negative 5 on Anthony Edwards. That's a slate. Your splash plays of the day are sleep. That's the real splash play of the day. Get a lot of it. Not calling plays retarded before the fucking top DFS site in the world shows they're going to have more exposure on the play. That's your number 2 splash play of the day. Besides that, the splash plays of the day, I would say for me, Daniel Gafford, still number 1, I think. I'm going to get him a shitload in lineups today. Besides that, I don't have the minutes updated here. Let me just take a quick look one more time. Towns would be another one here. You see him low own the run of ownership I had before the show. Not sure if that's changed at all, but I would say Towns would be another one for me if you could pay up. D'Angelo Russell at his salary, I think it's worth a shot here. The projection systems out there aren't going to account for how good Russell has played in court time without Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons because it's not a big enough sample size. They're playing him like he's Lakers Russell. He's not that same guy anymore. So Russell at 6,400 is worth tournament shots. Besides that, Ty Jerome. That's it. Ty Jerome. I think Ty Jerome's the other one. Those are probably the ones I feel the strongest about right now. Value's going to move around a little bit. I'd still play Mark Williams as well. Jokic, your top pay up option. I hope that covers it well enough, guys. And if you just joined now, the stream started early today because I have to go get my kid, come back in time for the deeper dive. So I'm going to go do that right now. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please show some love to the presenting sponsors here. As I always promise here, no matter how stressed I am or what I have going on, show up here and do the work. Check out these guys. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. I pointed the wrong way. There we go. Stokastic, 15% off. Unabated, $30 off. Promo code SPLASH. They're all linked down below. So please check them out. And when you do check them out, gamble responsibly, especially if you're an idiot who doesn't think Grady Dick's a good play. So if you just don't get DFS, gamble responsibly with your money because you don't know what you're doing. But it's always money time here. You guys know that. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play NBA and at Splash Play Pod for NFL content. Back in an hour on the deeper dive. Fucking pray for me, guys. See you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Thanks for hanging with me today. Bye-bye.